It's 2024, and I'm giving Redfall a second chance. I decide I'm going to play as Jacob, the Deadeye with an undead eye. Upon selecting him, I get my first glitch of the game, as Remy tries to T-pose, but isn't quite able to get her arms up all the way. On to the opening cinematic, where the basic gist of things is that vampires got scienced into existence in this coastal town, and now everything's gone to shit. I then wake up aboard a crashed boat, with a pair of vampires feeding on the now deceased captain. They have the perfect chance to kill me, but instead run away because another vampire is approaching. This lady really looks like she could do with getting something to eat, but instead of feeding from me, or even just flat out killing me, she decides that I should live instead. I don't know why villains so often do this, but sure, show pointless mercy while also being a creature of darkness. That makes total sense. Because this game is set in America, it takes me all of 2 seconds to come across a gun. Now armed with a lethal weapon, I step outside and get to see that the ocean is broken, which must be why our boat never got away. To make matters worse, it looks like the vampire lady from earlier is trying to black out the sun, and once again, she does a pretty shit job. There's still plenty of daylight, as the blacked out section doesn't cover the whole sun up. Seriously, I don't see what benefit this actually provides to the vampires. They still can't come out during the day. All they've done is made it so people can now look at the sun without damaging their eyes? Not sure how this factors into the vampire's master plan, but thanks, I guess. Once I've fought my way out of the harbour, it's a short walk to the local fire station, where it seems some survivors are holed up. After clearing out the cultists outside, and the ones trying to convince the survivors to let them in,
you don't know what you're missing. If you come out, we'll show you.
I'm told I need to fix the power, but there's a vampire downstairs guarding the switch. I get myself a shotgun with a stake attachment, which means I can get the vampire down to low health, and then stake it through the heart to finish it off.
One thing at a time. You can't win.
With the survivors saved, we then get treated to this little cinematic, showing the base being established and all the important members of the survivors. Everyone's frozen still for these scenes, and there's no voiceover providing additional information for the full 75 seconds of this, so it all feels really slow. I then drop back into the world, quite literally, and have to go meet all of the people we were just shown in the cutscene. Either give us the information in cutscene form, or have the player go and talk to people to get the info. There's no need to double it up and just make the thing slower. I'm not going to subject you to meeting everyone at the fire station, as they really don't matter. Instead, I head outside with my new fancy shotgun, and then witness a pair of choppers getting struck by lightning. My mission now is to find them, see what loot I can scavenge, and what intel I can gather from their burning husks. First things first though, let's test out this new weapon. Yep, seems to work. Those are just regular humans though. I should probably see how it fares against a vampire. Yeah, seems just as effective. With my equipment clearly in working order, it's time to see how my magic raven functions. Seems all it does is spot enemies, which does help me to differentiate enemies from friendlies, so I can save these two without harming them. Curiosity then gets the better of me, and I want to see if I can actually hurt friendlies, so pop a couple of rounds in this lady's ass. She seems none the worse for it though, so I'm off to the first crash site. The helicopter is crawling with cultists, but I'm able to pick them off from behind this tree made of bulletproof leaves. From listening to the radio logs on board, I'm able to learn the location of a supply drop, but even better, I find this tasty assault rifle, and just look at how effective it is. Before heading to the supply crate, I head over to a safe house to see if I can secure it. It needs to be powered up first, and in doing so I set off an alarm, attracting a bunch of cultists to the area. You may be able to tell by now that the main enemies in this vampire killing game are just regular humans with guns. There's a lot of them, and half the time they're more of a threat than the vampires themselves. Once the enemies are all dead, I'm able to head inside the safe house and pick up a mission. The mission is to pick up a supply drop, which is what I've been doing anyway, but now looks like there's even more of them to grab. On my way to one of them, I encounter some enemies on a bridge, and under a bridge, and possibly sealed inside the bridge too. After clearing out a few vampires, I get to take a closer look at these two cultists, and they're clearly stuck under the ground itself. I don't feel bad for any of the people I'm killing, but these two stuck in concrete for all eternity have my sympathy. Not enough sympathy for me to try and help them, as I've got a supply crate to claim. It's being guarded by cultists, but I take the first two out with a juicy double headshot. The others are a little tougher to kill, thanks to the fact that games love to make guns stop being effective if the target is more than a stone's throw away. I don't know why this is such a trend in games these days, but I wish it would stop. I'd quite like my rifles to actually deal proper damage at long range, instead of the metal bullets turning into foam Nerf darts after a certain distance. I'm off to the next crash site, which is at the top of this mountain path. It's absolutely crawling with enemies, but fortunately most of them are in the habit of standing on tops of pools of oil and next to high ordnance explosives. At the very top of the mountain, I find the second crash chopper, along with a new assault rifle, my first sniper, and the information that the private military contractors, Bellwether, are showing up here in order to perform a cover-up and kill all witnesses to this whole vampire event. This means that, while they are technically enemies of the cultists and vampires, they also want to kill everyone else too. I start heading off for a little exploration and find this canyon. Figure there might be something interesting, but instead it's just filled with vampires. Does prove to be a good place to test out my new weapons and my new invisibility power, but they struggle against the sheer number of vampires. I have to fight my way backwards, and while doing so, one of the vampires regens their health. If you don't finish off a vampire once they're down, they will get back up. I do quite like this added level of challenge when fighting them, but what's even better are the variant vampires. This is a Shroud, a special type of vampire which severely limits your range of vision. As someone trying to play as a sniper sort of character, this does put a real challenge on things. But once I thin out the herd and moving closer, it all goes much better. This isn't the only vampire variant though, as the next cultist outpost I head to is not only teeming with the standard array of enemies, but also has a siphon. This one can steal health from me, which is very nearly as effective as shotgun to the face.
Is this what you want?
There's even more enemy types to be dealing with though, and next up are the variety of Bellwether troops. Although these ones are much easier to deal with, as all of them seem to be super weak to bullet damage. With them cleared out, it's time to call in more fucking supply drops. Jesus Christ, why the fuck does this game have so many supply drops? Is there nothing else you could send the player character to? Despite my protest, these are exactly what I'm headed to. The first one is being looked over by Bellwether, but turns out they're just as vulnerable to fire damage as they were to bullets. My reward for opening this crate is a UV beam weapon, which, to give credit where it's due, does look pretty cool. Onto the second supply drop, where this time Bellwether are fighting some cultists. I use this opportunity to pick off weak enemies with my sniper, and let the two sides do most of the killing for me. My reward this time is a slightly better assault rifle and sniper rifle. It's back to the safe house where I pick up the next mission, which is to defeat the local vampire underboss. Seems he's located at this abandoned house, and knowing this will be the strongest enemy I've fought so far, I use stealth and recon powers relating to my character in order to try and get the drop on him. Turns out this was pointless though, as the enemy isn't actually here, it just magically spawns into the game once I head into the final room. I am still able to get the drop on the Shade Tree Killer, and try to use my UV beam weapon to decimate him. Turns out turning it to stone isn't actually that effective though, so it's back to old reliable bullets.
You can't do anything but kill.
I also take a ton of damage during this, but walking around the corner is enough to make the boss forget what's going on, letting me heal up before heading back for the kill.
Bugging out.
Is this what you want?
The underboss of this area is defeated, and that's where I'm going to call it. I jumped back into Redfall because it's received some updates recently, but it's really nothing special. If you and your friends all have Game Pass and can play together, then I could see it being a good time, but otherwise, this one really is a miss. Next game in the series will be a much more popular one, so do subscribe in order to see what that will be. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and comment with your own thoughts on Redfall. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.